Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Railfan adventure. Now, I said a few weeks ago in a previous video that get ready for more Chattanooga and Chattanooga Sub videos, and this video is not going to disappoint with that. We were informed of a really cool train coming with a really awesome duo, and we decided to go out towards the Chattanooga Sub and chase it. But of course we have to head out east to northeast Alabama, so let's head that way. After a very nice sunrise, we find ourselves in Stevenson, Alabama on the CSX Chattanooga Subdivision on this foggy Saturday morning. And we've made it just in time as there's a train approaching. NS A42 operating as Z37612 takes the switch at Stevenson to the NS Memphis East District on its way to Sheffield. Now 283 is going really slow. That's because it's going into the siding at Crow Creek just to the west of here, off cam about a half a mile, to meet an eastbound. Crow Creek is not a typical CTC siding, it's actually a track warrant controlled manual switch siding, which is why 283 is going so slow. The conductor has to get off and manually line the switch, and then it's also a really slow switch to begin with, like 5 to 10 miles an hour. Just about an hour later, we hear the rumble of a northbound CSX, and boy, is this one a monster.
Norfolk Southern, Milepost 286.0 Norfolk Southern, Milepost 286.0.
CSX E30111 makes the turn at Stevenson on its way north towards Nashville and eventually Evansville, Indiana. Now you look at these cars and you say, wait, you said this is an E-train? These are grain cars, should this not be a G-train? Well, I said the train was a monster earlier too, and I'm not wrong about that. This train is an empty grain train combined with an empty coal train running under the empty coal train symbol to save a crew. I forget the axle count on this, but it was very big. You're thinking 372 axles on the grain, and then I think about 458 axles on the empty coal based off what they usually have, so you do the math on that. I'm not going to do the math on that, even though I like doing the math usually. Of course, we have these engines on the head end, and we have several more as distributed power units with the coal train. Now that E301 is cleared, that eastbound NS I said something about earlier is ready to take the signal. NS 288 enters the Chattanooga Subdivision as Z36912 on the run all the way to Wauhatchie and eventually Chattanooga and points beyond to Pennsylvania. Just a few short minutes later, the sun's finally peeking through the clouds, and the train of the day is on approach. I'll go ahead and save you the trouble of guessing what train this is. This is CSX M81412, a curfew symbol for M51411 on the Chattanooga Subdivision. And in the lead is CSX 4720, an SD70 Mac painted in the We Are One CSX commemorative paint scheme. This is the first time we're going to be seeing this train, so let's go ahead and let's put the eyes in the sky in the air and get it in the air with the drone. Alright, let's get the eyes out of the sky and onto the road as we're going to chase this thing north. We're now on the Alabama-Tennessee state line at Anderson, the shortest siding on the Chattanooga Subdivision. In just a few short minutes, M814 makes its way north. believe I said that this is actually a duo on this train. I don't know if I did or not, but if I did, you may be wondering, well, 4720's solo on the head end. What is the other engine? Well, in the middle is CSX 1776, the Spirit of Our Armed Forces commemorative unit. So what a train here! The WR1 CSX solo on the head end and the Spirit of Our Armed Forces in the middle. We're now in the middle of nowhere at Chattanooga, Tennessee, as M814 gets ready to get a push over the mountain at Cowan. We've got quite the crowd on hand here in Chattanooga. We have myself, Zeb, Elijah, and our good friend Dylan Holvey, who joined us on the chase. We've made it back to Stevenson, and just when we're about to think about getting lunch, a northbound oddball symbol L802 decides to show up. We're going to grab him, and then we're going to go get lunch. After a great lunch at the Dixie Freeze in South Pittsburgh, we've made our way here to Bridgeport, Alabama. And we're just in luck, as a southbound is approaching. CSX M514 clears the south end of Bridgeport as it gets ready to cross the bridge over the Tennessee River on the way to Wauhatchie and eventually towards the Carolinas. Leading is CSX 7247 with an absolutely fantastic K5H. I've been wanting to catch this one for quite some time as a horn person, and it was really nice to finally get to catch this thing and hear this horn. It's really, really cool. Not too far behind M583 is an eastbound NS. With the signature BNSF power and white wall of JB Hunt intermodal containers, NS 284 crosses the bridge at Bridgeport. This train is operating as Z35112 today on the Chattanooga Subdivision. Leading is a BNSF DC Jibo that has an H3 nose and an H2 body. I think it's a swap from a different engine somewhere on there, I think I read. We'll check on that. Funny enough, this one also has a K5H horn, so back-to-back K5Hs on the Chattanooga Subdivision. And they both sounded really, really good. For the next few trains, we've decided to try a new spot here. We're at Battery Point, which is overlooking the non-lift part of the Bridgeport Bridge. First up, we have a northbound CSX. intermodal train I-155 makes its way across the bridge on the way to Nashville and eventually Memphis, Tennessee. Now yes, you heard that right, an odd symbol going northbound, a wrong-way symbol, if you will. Well, they base I-154 and I-155 off of their direction on the Memphis side, the Bridgeport Sub and the Memphis Sub, I believe they're called. So effectively, between Fairburn and Nashville, they're running as wrong-way symbols. Anyways, can I just say how cool it looks to see stacks on the Chattanooga Subdivision going over this river here, on this bridge. Now we have a pair of standard cabs that have appeared to have been lost somewhere on the Chattanooga Sub. Nah, I'm just kidding. This is CSX W463. It was a little curfew maintenance move. If you remember correctly from our video back in June, they were starting a curfew around that time, and so these engines were moved out this weekend to come out of Wauhatchie, come down, I forget where, I think around Widow's Creek, and move some maintenance equipment around, and then head right back to Wauhatchie Light Power. And now we have the local L463 pulls up to the south end of Bridgeport, and he's actually going to stop here and head into a switch down there and work a customer. When he stops, we're going to make our way back west towards Stevenson. As fate would have it, we pull up in Stevenson and a southbound CSX has already made the turn and coming through. This is a C305, and we're going to keep the recording on because this DP is quite interesting. Now, there were a few more CSX trains coming, including I-025, but we were informed of an eastbound NS coming that we really needed to go get west of there at speed. So here we are at Fackler, Alabama, home to the 286 defect detector, as well as some friendly cow rail fans who liked watching the train as well. After a little wait, here comes the eastbound. Breaking the peaceful silence at Fackler at a really good speed is NS A42, daily manifest trade from Decatur, Alabama to Chattanooga, Tennessee, with a fantastic power set you would not expect on this train. A CN SD70M-2 leading with the class lights on, as well as a CN-9. What a power set. This power set came from a 13E the day before, and they decided to run A42 late instead of at midnight, and we appreciate them very much for that. After A42, we decided it was time to head towards the house. We had an absolutely fantastic day. It started with just wanting to go out there and get the duo, and then it evolved into so much more. Of course, we got the 47, 2017, 76 duo on M814. A few K5Hs back-to-back. For me as a horn person, that was really nice. And then, of course, seeing A42, that was absolutely amazing at that spot in Fackler. Definitely will be going back to that spot in future trips. It's really cool, really fast, really nice, and the cows really enjoyed the train too. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. It means a lot. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you like the content like this and want to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell below to get notifications. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Until then, have a good one.